The last cage. The auction was almost over. The hall was big, dark, and cold. Lights hung from the ceiling like fake stars, blinking red every few seconds. Crowds of aliens were walking out with their purchases, slaves in cages. Every cage was now empty. Every one, except one. In the far corner of the room, behind a cracked pillar in thick glass, sat a girl. She didn't move. She didn't cry. She just stared through the glass, calm and quiet, like she had already seen the end of the world. Her hair was silver, short, and messy. Her skin was pale, almost glowing. Her eyes? Not blue, not green, not brown. They looked like a storm trapped in glass. The auction master, a fat creature with yellow skin and 6 eyes, shouted again. Final call. The last one. Rare model. Bioengineered. Last of her kind. No one answered. Some looked, but most turned away. Too strange, too quiet, too unknown. The girl didn't react. She knew no one would take her. Not after what happened the last time someone opened her cage. The auction master growled. He hit the cage bars with a stick. She didn't flinch. Then, the door opened. Not the cage door, the hall door. A figure walked in, slow and silent. Long coat, black boots, and a hood hiding his face. He wasn't tall. He wasn't loud. But when he walked in, the room felt different. Colder, heavier. The alien guard near the entrance stepped back. Too late, the auction master said. Sale's over. The hooded figure didn't answer. He looked around, then walked straight to the last cage. The girl looked up. Their eyes met. For the first time in days, maybe weeks, her face changed. Not fear. Not hope. Just curiosity. Like she was trying to remember something. The figure stopped in front of the cage. He looked at her for a long time. Then he said 3 words, in a voice quiet as wind. I'll take her. The auction master blinked. You sure? That one's unstable. Doesn't matter. The human said. Payment. The figure tossed a chip without looking. The auction master caught it and scanned it. His eyes lit up. Fine, she's yours. The guards opened the cage, slowly and carefully. But the girl didn't move. She looked at the man. She tilted her head. Then, in a soft voice, she whispered something. No one understood the language, not even the guards. But the man, he froze. His head turned slightly, like he knew those words. What did you say? He asked. She didn't answer. She just stepped out of the cage, barefoot, her feet touching the cold metal floor. She walked to him without fear. Not like a prisoner. Not like a pet. Like someone who had been waiting. He turned, and she followed. Together, they walked out of the hall. No chains. No orders. Just silence. The auction master chuckled. Fool, he muttered. She'll kill him in his sleep. But she didn't. In the ship, she sat in a quiet room. The man gave her food and water. Simple things, nothing fancy. But he didn't talk much. At night, she watched him. He sat in the cockpit, typing codes, checking systems, and sometimes scanning his own blood. She didn't understand. But something about him felt off. He was human, yes, but not like the ones who built the cages. Not like the ones who bought lives with credits. This one was different. Colder. Stronger. He noticed her watching. You can sleep, he said. She didn't answer. You're not a slave anymore, he added. Still, she said nothing. He turned back to the screen. But just before she left, she asked, Why me? He paused, then said, Because no one else did. That night, she had a dream. Or maybe it was a memory. A lab, white walls, cold hands, voices speaking her name in different tones, some kind, some cruel. She saw faces. Some looked like her. Some didn't. One voice whispered again and again. You're the key. You're the last. She woke up, heart racing. She looked at the human, still awake, still watching the stars. She whispered something again, not sure why. And for a moment, she saw him look back, with fear in his eyes. The kind of fear that only comes when you know what someone truly is, and that you can't control it anymore. The human with no name. She woke up in a room with no corners. The walls were smooth, silver, and strangely warm. There were no windows. Only a single light above her that never blinked, never dimmed. She wasn't in a cell. She was on a ship, flying through space. But she didn't know where. And the human hadn't told her. He didn't ask her name. He didn't tell her his. He just said, You're safe here. But she didn't feel safe. Not really. Not with all the questions. Not with the silence between them. And not with the strange feeling in her chest. like something had been turned on. The food was plain, but clean. The water tasted like air. Every item on the ship was too quiet, too perfect. Like no one had lived here for years. Like it was waiting for someone. She wandered the halls. No chains, no guards. But locked doors were everywhere. Metal doors with scanners that blinked red when she got too close. One night, she saw him again. The human, sitting in front of a console. His face still hidden in shadows. But she noticed something strange. He wasn't flying the ship. The ship was flying itself. And he was scanning his own blood. Again. She stepped closer. He didn't turn. She asked, "Why do you scan yourself?" He paused, then said, "To make sure I'm still me." She didn't understand. "Still you?" He nodded slowly. "There are things in the dark," he said. "Things that look like us, but aren't." The girl felt cold. "Are you afraid?" she asked. "Always," he replied. Later, she opened a door that wasn't locked. Inside, it was freezing. She stepped in, expecting weapons or supplies. Instead, she found glass tubes. Rows and rows of cryo chambers. Each one held a body. Most were empty. Some were broken. One was still running. Inside it was her. Same face. Same hair. Same eyes. But not the same. This version had scars. And her hands were clenched like she had died fighting. The girl stepped back, heart pounding. "What is this?" she whispered. That's when she heard the human behind her. "You weren't the first," he said. She turned slowly. "You told me I was the last." "You are," he said, "the last to wake up." He walked to the tube, looked at the copy. "This one lasted 3 days," he said. "The others?" "Less. They weren't ready. But maybe you are." She didn't speak. Her throat was dry. Her hands were shaking. "What am I?" she asked. He looked at her, not with fear, but with something else, guilt. "You're not just one girl," he said. "You're a pattern. A code, copied again and again, until one of you worked." She felt like the floor was moving. Like nothing around her was real anymore. "You built me?" she asked. "No," he said. "I found you. But I was part of them, once." She stepped away from him. "Why me?" "Because you're the only one who didn't scream when you woke up," he said. "You looked at me like you already knew." She stared at him. And for the first time, she remembered something. Not a dream. Not a story. But a voice. Her own voice, in another life. Saying, "He'll come back." She turned to the tube again. Looked at the other her. Same eyes, but empty. She whispered, "What did they put inside us?" The human didn't answer. But his hands curled into fists. And for the first time, she saw the scars on his arms. Old ones. Burns, cuts, marks from battles he never talked about. He wasn't just hiding secrets. He was hiding pain. And maybe shame. That night, the girl didn't sleep. She stood by the window, watching stars slide past like whispers. She didn't know who she was yet. But she knew this. She wasn't a slave anymore. And this human, he wasn't just her owner. He might be the only one who still believed she could be more. But belief wasn't enough. If she was really the last, then something out there was coming to finish what they started. Her other selves. She woke to a low hum. The ship was quiet, but the hum felt alive. It vibrated through the floor, through her bones. She followed it down a narrow corridor she hadn't seen before. Metal walls curved around her. The light above pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. At the end of the corridor was a room filled with glass. Not cages this time, but mirrors, hundreds of mirrors. Each reflecting her face, but each one slightly different. Some younger, some older, some with scars, some smiling. All of them alive in some way. She stepped closer. Her reflection moved first, then another, and another. The mirrors weren't mirrors. They were windows. Windows into lives she had never lived. She saw herself running through forests made of metal, fighting creatures she didn't recognize, smiling at a human she didn't know, screaming at a human she did, and sometimes just standing alone, watching stars fall into fire. Her head spun. Her heart raced. "What is this?" she whispered. Then she heard the human's voice behind her. "You're seeing the others," he said. "The ones you never knew. The ones they tried to destroy." She turned, fear and curiosity battling inside her. Why are they me?" "Because they were made like you," he said. "They were tested, trained, programmed. Each one was a copy of the same code. You are the last awake," he added, voice low, almost afraid. "The others failed." She took a step back, her hands shaking. "Failed?" "Yes," he said, Some didn't survive the awakening. Some went mad. Some tried to kill the wrong people. She felt a chill, a cold weight pressing into her chest. She walked slowly past the glass, each version of her staring back. Some with eyes full of hate, some full of hope, some empty. She saw one in a cage, screaming silently. Another one walking beside soldiers she didn't know. And then a mirror she didn't recognize. Her eyes glowed faintly. She looked like her, but also different. Ancient, powerful, and untouchable. The human came closer. "Do you see her?" he asked, voice almost a whisper. "Yes," she said, barely breathing. "That's the prototype," he said. "The one they tried to perfect before they abandoned everything." "But she was dangerous," he added, almost afraid to speak. "She could destroy entire worlds if she woke fully." She looked back at her reflection, then the prototype, then herself. For the first time, she understood. She wasn't just a survivor. She was a key, a weapon, and maybe the hope. Her stomach twisted. "What do I do?" she asked. He didn't answer at first. He just looked at her, eyes hard, but gentle. "You live," he said finally, "and you choose." She stared at him. "I don't even know who I am," she said. "You'll know," he replied. "But first, you need to remember." At that moment, an alarm blared. Red lights flashed. A voice echoed in the corridors of the ship. "Intruders. Hunters," the human said. "They know you're here. They always find the last one." Her heart jumped. Her hands went to her side instinctively. And she realized. Instinctively, she knew how to fight, how to move, how to survive. But these weren't her memories. They belonged to the others. They were the code awakening inside her. The human grabbed her hand. "Hold on," he said. "We're not leaving empty-handed. Not this time." She nodded. And together, they ran toward the ship's weapons bay. The mirrors behind them pulsed. The reflections flickering. Some screaming. Some smiling. Some watching silently. As if they were waiting. Waiting for her to choose. Waiting for her to remember. And for the first time, she felt it. Not fear. Not anger. But power. And a responsibility she had never asked for. Somewhere, deep inside, she whispered to the mirrors. To the other selves. "Don't be afraid. I'm here now." And in that moment, the last awake, the one who had survived, the one who had been hidden, finally began to understand. She wasn't just a copy. She wasn't just a weapon. She was the beginning. The code in her blood. The ship was silent except for the hum of the engines. The girl sat on the floor, staring at her hands. Something inside her was waking. A warmth, a pulse, like a tiny sun beating beneath her skin. The human watched her, carefully. "I've never seen it this strong," he said, voice low. "Your blood, it's different." She looked at him, confused. "Different how?" He hesitated, then pulled a small device from his coat. It was no bigger than a hand, but it glowed with lines of code that shifted like liquid. "Your DNA," he said. "It's not just a code, it's a map. A map of something they wanted to hide." She stood slowly, every nerve in her body tingling. "Hide what?" He shook his head. "They tried to make you a key," he said. "To open doors we shouldn't open. Doors that lead to power, to war. Maybe even to the end of life as we know it." Her stomach twisted. "Doors? What do you mean?" He held the glowing device closer. "Inside your blood is a pattern. A language. A sequence of energy and matter that can change the world. They called it the code." The girl's eyes widened. "The code?" He nodded. "Yes, the others weren't ready," he said. "They couldn't control it. They failed." She clenched her fists. "Then why me?" "Because you woke," he said simply. "You were the only one who could survive the activation." Her pulse raced. She felt it, the power rising inside her. A warmth spreading through her veins. Stronger than fear, stronger than hunger. Stronger than anything she had ever known. She lifted her hand and flexed her fingers. The device flickered. Lines of glowing code stretching toward her like tiny rivers. The ship trembled. Lights flickered. And for a moment, it felt like the stars outside were bending toward her. The human stepped back, caution in every move. "You can't let them touch it," he warned. "Every hunter in the galaxy wants what's in you, and they'll stop at nothing to get it." She looked at him. "Then I'll stop them first," she said. Her voice was calm, but inside, a storm was forming. A warning sounded suddenly. Red lights flooded the ship. "Hunters," the human said. "They found us sooner than I expected." The girl didn't move. She felt the code inside her, pulsing, responding to her thoughts. A power she didn't understand, but she trusted it instinctively. The human grabbed her hand. "We need to leave," he said. "But not yet," she replied, her eyes glowing faintly, the code awakening in her blood, and the energy around them bending to her will. The first alarm burst through the hall. A ship docking outside, and a voice called her name in a language she didn't know, but somehow understood. It was another version of her. Somewhere out there, awake, waiting. The human looked at her, astonished. "They found you," he said. "But you're different now." She felt it. The code inside her blood was alive. Not just a key, not just a weapon, but a choice, a force, a chance to rewrite everything. The alarm blared again, but she didn't panic. She stood tall and looked toward the doors where the hunters would arrive. Not as a victim, not as a copy, but as herself. The last awake. The one who carried the code. The one who could change the galaxy. Her voice was quiet, but full of certainty. "I am ready," she said. The hunter ships arrive. The alarm screamed louder than before. Red lights slashed through the ship like fire. The hum of the engines shook the floor beneath her feet. The girl stood in the control room, eyes glowing faintly, her blood still thrumming with the code, power rising inside her like a storm. Outside, through the viewport, she saw them. Hunter ships, dozens of them, black and sleek, moving faster than anything she had ever imagined. Their weapons charging, their eyes locked on her ship. The human grabbed her arm. "We have seconds," he said, voice tense. "They'll tear us apart if we stay exposed." She shook him off gently. "No," she said, calm. "They won't touch us." Her voice carried authority, power wrapped around it like a shield. Even he felt it. Even he was silent. For the first time, he understood. She wasn't just alive. She was a force. The first hunter ship fired. Lasers tore through space. Flames streaking past. The ship rocked violently. But she raised her hand, and the code inside her responded, twisting, bending the energy around her. A wave of force slammed into the first ship, and it exploded, stars of fire spinning into space. The human stared, mouth open. "She's controlling it," he whispered. "I've never seen a human do this." The other hunters faltered. Their formations broke, their weapons misfiring. She could feel their fear, sense it through the code, and she smiled faintly, not cruelly, but with calm, absolute calm. She moved through the ship like a shadow, her steps silent, but everywhere she passed, the engines hummed, the controls bent to her will. She didn't touch the panels. She didn't press buttons. The ship responded, because she was the ship, or maybe the ship was hers. A hunter ship tried to flank them, its weapons aimed directly at the cockpit. She lifted her hand again. A pulse of energy shot forward. Not a blast, not a fire, but a push. A force that ripped the hunter ship from its course, spinning it into another. Two explosions lit the darkness. The rest hesitated, and that hesitation was all she needed. The human grabbed the comm link. "Calling for backup," he muttered. But she shook her head. "No," she said, voice firm. "Let them come." Another wave of ships approached, faster, stronger. But she didn't panic. The code inside her surged. The warmth in her veins now a torrent of energy. It wrapped around the ship, around her, and she realized something terrifying and wonderful. She could feel every ship before it moved, every weapon before it fired, every choice before it was made. The hunters fired again, missiles screaming through space. But she waved her hand, and the missiles turned, spinning harmlessly into the void, one after another, until the hunters hesitated completely. Their formation broken, their confidence shattered. The human finally spoke, awe and fear in his voice. "You're unstoppable," he said. She turned to him, calm. "I'm not a weapon," she said. "I'm a warning." The ships retreated. The hunters didn't run far. They were regrouping, watching, waiting. But they knew now. They had underestimated her. They had underestimated humanity. She exhaled slowly, feeling the code in her blood pulse. She wasn't just surviving. She was leading. She was the last awake, and the first to fight back. The human looked at her, still amazed. "You just saved yourself," he said. She smiled faintly. "No," she said, voice strong. "I just remembered who I am." The stars stretched out ahead of them, infinite, dark, and full of danger. But she was ready, more ready than anyone had ever been. And somewhere, far away, other eyes watched. Other codes waited. Other hunters whispered her name. And she smiled again, because now they would learn. No one could control her. The truth of her creation. The girl floated in silence. The ship gliding through the black void of space. Stars streaking past like silver rivers. But the calm was only temporary. The human sat beside her, quiet. Finally breaking the silence. There is something you need to know, he said. You are not what you think you are. She looked at him, eyes sharp. Explain, she said, voice steady. He took a deep breath. I didn't just find you, he said. I helped create you. Her heart skipped. Her hand went to her chest. You what? She whispered. Yes, he said. I was part of the team that built the project. The project that made you. The project they tried to destroy. She felt cold, her mind spinning. All those other selves? She asked. All copies. He nodded. They were tests, he said, voice low. Each one trained. Each one tested. Each one failed. They were trying to make perfection. But perfection is dangerous. Her chest tightened. Why me? Why was I the last one awake? You weren't just alive, he said. You were awake. You remembered. And that made all the difference. She stared at him, confused. You mean? I wasn't just chosen. No, he said, looking away. You survived because you remembered what no one else could. The code inside your blood, it is not just data. It is knowledge. The knowledge of survival, of creation, of power. She clenched her fists. Power? What kind of power? The kind that can save worlds, he said, voice heavy, but also destroy them. She felt a chill run through her. All the memories, flashes from the mirrors, the other selves, the fights, the energy. They weren't just training. They were preparing her for something greater, something dangerous, something no one else could survive. She looked out the viewport. The stars no longer seemed distant. They seemed alive, as if watching her, waiting. You're human, she said softly. But more than that, he corrected. You are the future of humans. The part they made to survive when everything else failed. Her thoughts raced. She remembered the lab, the scientists, the cages, the whispers, the tests, the failures. All the pain, all the fear. And then she remembered something deeper. A voice from before. You were meant to lead, it said. You were meant to choose. Her eyes glowed faintly, the code pulsing faster inside her veins. She realized then. She wasn't a weapon. She wasn't a copy. She wasn't a mistake. She was the key, the leader, the first of a new path for humanity. The human watched her, awe in his eyes. You understand now? He asked. I think, she said slowly. I am more than what they made me for. Yes, he said, voice soft. And they will come for you because of it. The girl's lips curved into a faint smile. They can try, she said, voice strong. But no one will control me again. Suddenly, the ship trembled. Warning lights flashed. Another signal. Closer. Faster. More hunters. They're here, the human said, gripping the console. And this time, they know everything about you. She stood tall, feeling the warmth of the code inside her grow. Not just power, not just knowledge, but understanding. The understanding of herself, of what she was, and what she could become. She turned to the human, eyes fierce. Then we fight, she said, and I choose how it ends. The stars outside streaked faster. The hunters were coming. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. And the girl, the last awake, the human who claimed her, were about to face the truth of creation. The human who chose her. The galaxy was quiet for a moment. Too quiet. The calm before the storm. The girl stood on the bridge of the ship, eyes glowing with the code. Every pulse of energy in her veins connected to the stars. Every thought a weapon, a shield, a promise. The hunters arrived suddenly. Black ships surrounding them. Weapons primed. Engines roaring like thunder. But she didn't flinch. She could feel them coming. Every move, every decision. Before it happened, the human stood beside her. No longer her protector. No longer just a witness. He was her ally. Her partner. The only one who had chosen her when no one else would. The first shots fired. Lasers tore across space. But she moved first. The code pulsing, bending reality around her. The hunters faltered. They couldn't hit her. Every attack twisted harmlessly into the void. The human piloted the ship with precision. Dodging, weaving, holding together what she commanded. He looked at her, awe and fear in his eyes. You're unstoppable, he said. I've never seen a human do this. She smiled faintly. Not a human, she said. The future of humans. And I will fight for it. The hunters called for reinforcements. But she wasn't afraid. The code in her blood surged, shaping energy into blades, shields, walls of light. Every move graceful, unstoppable. Every breath a promise. That no one could own her. One hunter's ship broke through, weapons aimed straight at them. She extended her hand, and it froze in the void, suspended by her will. She turned it slowly toward another ship, then smashed it into the next. The explosions lit the darkness like fireworks. The human's jaw dropped. This is insane, he muttered. Not insane, she said. Necessary. The battle raged. The girl leading the charge. The human by her side. Every shot, every move, a symphony of strategy and power. The hunters were organized, brutal, relentless. But nothing could match the combination of human ingenuity and the code inside her. Finally, the last hunter ship hovered in front of them. The captain of the fleet, a creature built for war. Eyes glowing red, weapons blazing. It laughed. Do you think you can stop us? She stepped forward, her hands glowing with the code, her eyes reflecting the stars. I don't think, she said softly. I know. With one motion, she reached into the ship, energy extending outward like liquid silver. The hunter ship shuddered, twisted, then exploded, leaving only silence. The human turned to her. You did it, he whispered. Yes, she said, voice soft but steady. We did it. But the cost became clear. The human was wounded. A deep cut across his chest. Fighting for him had drained him, and she knew the code couldn't save everyone. She knelt beside him, hands glowing with warmth. Stay with me, she whispered. He smiled faintly. I didn't save you, he said. You saved me. She held his hand, feeling the life leave him, but also feeling hope. A new beginning. The galaxy would remember this day, not as a day of fear, but a day when humans, and the girl they created, stood and fought. The stars outside were quiet again. The hunters defeated. The human who claimed her was gone, and the girl stood alone. Not a prisoner, not a weapon, not a copy, but a leader. The first of a new path, the last awake, and the beginning of something greater. She whispered to the stars. To anyone listening, we are not to be controlled. We are not to be owned. We survive. We fight. And we choose our destiny. And in that silence, a new chapter began. Not for the hunters, not for the project, but for her. The girl with the code in her blood. The human who chose her. And the future they would shape together.